them 3 big satellite dishes?
Hey, I'm FriendlyBaron, and the intricacies of how weirdly GTA 5 is coded still make me laugh, as for example, blowing this NPC up makes the mission go faster. Speedrunners now use this side mission, called Target Practice, to set up a new time skip called On Mission 0, which allows the runner to play this short mission in order to skip longer ones almost entirely. When everything works correctly, it looks like this: a normal speedrun on the left, and the new glitch, On Mission 0, on the right. When starting the mission Eye in the Sky, the new glitch allows you to skip over half the mission, instantly putting you in the Z-type car instead of having to do the whole helicopter hunting part of the mission. We're going to take a look at how 2 strats, On Mission 0 and Checkpoint Transfer, are used in the speedrun to have this effect. When the speedrunner starts the mission, they will now have the game in a unique state. On Mission set to 0 means the game currently doesn't think you are in a mission, and new ones can be started. However, they have 5 checkpoints loaded into the global checkpoint counter, meaning that when they start the mission, they will load into the 5th checkpoint. They have to perfectly time an explosion, which fails the mission right as they start it for this to work, otherwise the game will soft lock and become unplayable. By loading into this further checkpoint, massive sections of the actual Eye in the Sky mission, totaling almost 5 minutes, are skipped. Let's get situated by looking at what the speedrun used to do for the mission Eye in the Sky. After the previous mission, I Fought the Law, the player is set as Michael in the east side of downtown. Eye in the Sky can be started by Franklin or Trevor, and Franklin is chosen as his driving power allows the speedrun to get to the mission start much faster. The actual gameplay of Eye in the Sky, well, it was usually when the speedrunners took their bathroom breaks during the run. You basically sat in the helicopter with little to no input required for 7 minutes, before getting to the part where you are Franklin again and steal the Z-type to go deliver at the airport. The massive amount of time doing little action made this mission a high priority for finding a way to utilize on-mission exploits. Let's get into how we perform On Mission 0. It requires quite a bit of setup using that side mission with the satellite dishes, before we can return to the main mission Eye in the Sky. The player needs to be Trevor, as only he can do the mission with Cletus up in Sandy Shores. Unfortunately, all 3 characters are down on this east side of the city after I Fought the Law, so what's called a wrong warp is done on Trevor to get him up north. As Trevor, the player loads a mission replay of Trevor Phillips Industries, normally completed 2 hours ago in the full run. This mission has 2 things we need: it's close to Sandy Shores, and you can quickly get into a vehicle. By dying, in a vehicle, in a mission replay, and then quitting the mission replay, upon returning to, let's say, our main timeline, when dying in free roam now, the respawn location is wrongly saved as the hospital up in Sandy Shores, instead of the one closer in the city, hence the name Wrong Warp. Upon loading into Sandy Shores, the speedrunner shoots to put themselves into combat stance, and by spamming the button to pull out and put away their weapon, this is a technique known as tab running, which lets the player move a bit faster. They will steal the closest vehicle, choosing this Voodoo as it's facing the correct direction, and most cars that spawn in here are rather slow, but at least it's a short drive. It should be noted that a save warp to get to Trevor's trailer cannot be done. A save warp is a technique whereby when loading a save file, you can teleport to the current character's safe house. However, at this point in the story, Trevor has a safe house available at Floyd's apartment in Vespucci Beach as well, and you would be teleported to that one as it's the closer of the 2 safe houses. Hence the need to do the wrong warp. This is now the start of the mission Target Practice, where all the magic happens. However, this first time approaching, nothing special is done. The speedrunner will in fact get into the Doom Buggy and fail the mission by shooting one of the satellite dishes before Cletus tells them to, while driving away. The timings for pulling off the On Mission 0 trick are so tight that the mission needs to have been loaded once, and actively be in game memory, so that you instantly enter the mission, instead of waiting an extra half a second for all the assets, like voice lines, to be loaded. Once driving far enough away, the mission spawns in again, and the speedrunner can return. This time, they'll be parking in a certain spot inside the mission trigger radius. By attempting to enter the director mode via the interaction menu at the exact moment the mission intro begins, the player is then able to kill themselves. Specifically, this death is what starts the mission without the on-mission flag being set to true, or 1. You can see on the minimap that all the other missions are available like its normal free roam, but the Cletus mission itself is also running. So we're in a mission and could theoretically start another mission. This doesn't directly benefit the speedrun. The trick comes in that we will play the target practice mission quickly and collect checkpoints, then transfer these checkpoints to the Eye in the Sky mission, letting us skip playing the earlier and longer parts of that mission. So for a time, it's just back to normal-ish speedrun strats. The speedrunner aims the sniper up the stairs to accurately push Cletus faster than his normal walking speed, and then can run and jump at him on these sections to move even faster. They can begin shooting the satellite dishes as soon as Cletus is in this area, and then blow Cletus the heck up. This is a quirk that makes this mission great for checkpoint transfer. The checkpoint after shooting the satellite dishes is already located across Sandy Shores in the motel, so by failing the mission and hitting retry, you can skip walking or driving all the way over. And just as I finish explaining that, the speedrunner is blowing Cletus up again after shooting the tires out of some cars, and yet again skipping the travel by abusing mission failed checkpoint retries. Trevor now makes a call to a friend from the strip club. This starts a free roam mission, where you normally go pick up the escort at the blue dot on the minimap. By starting one of these free roam missions, it prevents the mission pass screen and mission failed screen from appearing on the main Cletus mission we are playing, which helps smooth the entry into the Eye in the Sky main mission. The final checkpoint of target practice is reached by sniping a few coyotes, and then before Cletus's final voice lines can play, the player switches to Michael, which might sound a bit weird as the mission needs to be started by Franklin. The reason for this is to prevent a bad switch before starting the mission. By first going to Michael and using a motorcycle that was saved in the garage earlier in the run, the speedrunner drives close to the house in the hills that eventually becomes Franklin's house. By getting near to this location as Michael, it prevents you from appearing there when switching to Franklin, so Franklin is instead near the end of the last mission, I Fought the Law, which is pretty close to the start of Eye in the Sky compared to way up in the hills above the city. The runner will prepare C4 as their active weapon, then drive over to the mission start marker for Eye in the Sky. Luckily, Franklin's White Buffalo is a consistent spawn here, which is needed as one more very precise trick is required to start the mission. If the player tries to start Eye in the Sky normally while having this current on mission 0 and multiple checkpoint state, the game will just soft lock into an eternal glitched loading screen. They instead need to park the car in a precise spot, denoted by these tire marks and manhole cover on the ground. The C4 is then thrown on the edge of this rough asphalt to the right side of the car. On the minimap, you can see the player is right next to the mission marker. In world space, it looks kind of like this. We are right next to the invisible mission entry area. When Franklin steps out of the car, he will immediately enter the mission marker. Since the door exit animation is consistent compared to trying to walk into the marker, it means the runner knows they will need to blow up the C4 at a certain time, more or less the moment the door closes. This timing allows the mission to begin, but kills Franklin before the cutscene loads. Now the magic finally happens, and since we have collected some checkpoints, when the game loads us back in after our death, instead of being at the start of Eye in the Sky, we are now already in the Z-type across the city, skipping 7.5 minutes of gameplay. Let's take a look side by side. On the right is the new On Mission 0 strategy performing the setup with Trevor in the target practice mission, while on the left we have the old strategy of just entering Eye in the Sky right away. The setup with Trevor for the On Mission 0 state with 5 checkpoints takes about 3.5 minutes. Then it takes about 2 minutes to get into the Eye in the Sky mission, totaling 5 minutes 40 seconds. During all that time, the old speedrun has just been sitting in the helicopter, and it takes them 8.5 minutes to reach the same point within the mission, which means the On Mission 0 strat saves almost 3 whole minutes, one of the biggest singular time saves in the game. On top of that, Eye in the Sky isn't the only mission this strategy is possible on. Mission 38, Polito Score Setup, normally includes a long drive on the train tracks in Lester's slow car, then a wait at the bank in Polito Bay, then the same drive back. By utilizing On Mission 0, you can truly skip the entire mission. As you see on the right, the new speedrun instantly skips to the heist selection screen for Polito Score that normally appears at the end of the mission. Of course, as before, On Mission 0 requires the setup in the Trevor side mission before starting the main mission. After exiting the plane from minor turbulence, instead of parachuting directly to the start of Polito Score setup, we parachute to Trevor's house to get the consistent spawn of his truck. It wouldn't be ideal to land directly next to Cletus at the start of target practice, as if you are too close to a mission starting area, the mission won't spawn in. It's faster to parachute to Trevor's truck and drive from farther away, rather than parachuting to the minimum distance and running into the marker. From here, the speedrunner again preloads the mission by entering it once, then exiting, and again driving far enough away to let the mission respawn. We'll go into more detail on how the side mission is started to get into the On Mission 0 state, as it's the most important part of the whole On Mission 0 system. To enter the glitched On Mission 0 state, where we can complete checkpoints but still start another new mission, the player has to die within a very small window of the mission starting. The problem is, when starting a mission, normally you become invincible to damage. You may be aware of another famous strat that makes use of this invincibility, the good old blimp strat. So you can't normally die when starting a mission. However, when entering director mode, your invincibility is removed. Normally, director mode is a way to record movies with specific NPCs and vehicles within the game. Basically a very lightweight mod menu for GTA 5, but on its own mode outside of single player. We don't have to make use of those features for the trick. Just timing an attempt to load the director mode within the quarter of a second window while the mission is loading is enough to trigger director mode before it forces you out. Then the speedrunner blows themselves up to die as the mission itself begins, which then engages the On Mission 0 state, where you are in one mission but can still start others. From here, we complete target practice as before, collecting the checkpoints by speeding through the mission. However, at the end, Trevor can just jump off the roof after completing the objectives of the mission. There's no need to switch to Michael or Franklin since Trevor can start Polito score setup across the street. The speedrunner toggles Trevor's special power every few seconds, as it prevents the final voice lines of the side mission from playing, even though Trevor is over a football field away from Cletus and they couldn't hear the voice lines anyways. If the final voice lines did play, the side mission would end, which resets the checkpoint count, which would ruin all this setup work. The Polito score mission itself is then started with an explosion, same as Eye in the Sky was, to reset the mission as it's entered. Since we've collected 5 checkpoints, it moves to the 5th checkpoint in the mission, which conveniently is the last checkpoint, therefore the heist selection screen is shown and the mission is over. 4 minutes and 23 seconds. That's how much time On Mission 0 saves in Polito score setup. Even more than the 3 minutes saved in Eye in the Sky. That's basically halving the amount of time the mission takes. And it doesn't stop there. The very next mission, Predator, can be completed with On Mission 0 as well. After finishing Polito score setup, they exit the building and call a taxi, as vehicle spawns are not common in this area. They luckily get an ATV to spawn by moving the camera around, allowing vehicles to spawn where they are not actively looking. Since this is what's called a chained On Mission 0, they don't need to preload the side mission once before entering. They can just use director mode right away. However, since they aren't in a normal vehicle, the speedrunner uses a specific set of lining up next to this rock and jumping once to help get the timing of when to enter director mode just right, getting close to the mission trigger. From there, we are in the On Mission 0 state and collecting checkpoints once again. Once near the end, instead of calling for an adult meetup, Trevor calls a taxi and has to jump off the building to be close enough to the road for the taxi to register his location as valid. This provides the same benefit as making the call to the stripper, preventing mission pass fail screens from showing for the target practice mission, as well as giving a consistent vehicle the end of the mission. However, they will need to enter the car, start a taxi mission, and then exit the taxi to cancel said free roam mission first. Now that all 5 checkpoints are completed, the runner can drive to Trevor's house, which is the starting location for Trevor in the Predator mission. Blowing themselves up upon starting the mission again, they will be ported to the 5th checkpoint in Predator, already in the helicopter, and all they need to do is pick up Franklin, then fly back to the airport in Sandy Shores. So while the normal speedrun was driving as Franklin, running through the forest, and sniping as Michael, the On Mission 0 runner was just doing the side mission again. The time save on Predator is not as large, only 42 seconds saved, but in the grand scheme of some speedrun strats saving only half a second sometimes, 42 seconds is still huge. 2 missions later, the Polito score heist itself can also be completed faster using On Mission 0. After finishing the previous mission, Military Hardware, the runner drives over to the side mission once again. Since all recent missions have been in this area still, target practice is loaded and can be started with director mode right away, once again using the setup of the nearby rock and jump to time entering the mission radius at just the right moment. This time, the speedrunner will only collect 3 checkpoints before running to the start of the Polito score. This is because the time it takes to complete checkpoints 4 and 5 in the side mission is actually longer than they take in the main mission itself. Checkpoints 4 and 5 are just waiting for the bank door to open and then getting into the bank vault. However, the previous 3 checkpoints consist of a long drive from Sandy Shores up to Polito Bay, and by skipping these with On Mission 0, the speedrunner can save 1 minute and 24 seconds in this mission. Skipping ahead one mission again, Monkey Business is faster with On Mission 0. The normal speedrun still had to deal with going in the boat, swimming up the channel, entering and then exiting the underground research lab, all while the On Mission 0 runner does the side mission setup and then skips instantly to the helicopter section. These are long checkpoints, and brings the mission that normally takes just over 8 minutes down to just under 4 minutes, a total savings of 4 minutes and 24 seconds, almost the same time saved in Polito score setup. In Bury the Hatchet, this also requires only collecting 3 checkpoints to be faster with On Mission 0. Skipping the driving to the airport and driving in the snowy North Yankton sections, saving a nice 28 seconds. The next mission, Pac-Man, can also be started with On Mission 0, and it's pretty fun, as for once you get to use a plane between missions. I covered in Casual Vs Speedrun how it's almost never faster to reuse these planes in the Sandy Shores area, but finally a way to use them is available, flying to the start of this On Mission 0. Since it's a chained On Mission 0 coming right after Bury the Hatchet, the side mission can be entered right away and then collect the 5 checkpoints as usual. Once that's done, switching to Franklin and starting the mission, all of Pac-Man is skipped. The drive to the truck, the long drive in the truck across the whole map, and the section of taking out the cops with the JB700 are all skipped. This saves another massive amount of time, 3 minutes and 41 seconds. In fact, it takes just 3 minutes to do the setup and skipping of the mission. Lamar Down is another mission that has only 5 checkpoints and involves driving across the entire map. You can probably see the pattern forming here. Do this setup, and the drive north, shootout in the lumber mill, and drive back south are all skipped. This saves 2 minutes and 12 seconds over the normal speedrun. The final mission that On Mission 0 is viable to use in is the second to last, the big score. However, a setup is required 2 missions ahead of time before getting to the big score. Normally, the speedrunner makes a save and loads it while in the garage, allowing them to deliver this gauntlet twice to count towards the 3 that need delivered. The On Mission 0 strat will spend 24 extra seconds to instead replay the Trevor mission, Trevor Phillips Industries, same as way back in Eye in the Sky on Mission 0, to set up a wrong warp. By loading into this mission, and dying once in the vehicle, the saved hospital location will be up in Sandy Shores. So a few minutes later, after finishing Mission 58 Gauntlets, and 59 getting the Stinger van, when they die as Franklin here, they are sent to the hospital in Sandy Shores, where they can call Trevor to do a hangout, which brings Trevor close by, switch to Trevor, which brings Franklin closer to him, back to Franklin to drive even closer to Trevor, and then borrow Franklin's car as Trevor to drive over to the target practice side mission to do the On Mission 0 setup once again, as since for the whole game the runner has technically never completed this side mission, it's still available to start fresh. After completing all the checkpoints, they switch to Franklin and head to the start of the big score. This is one of the riskiest starts to a mission in On Mission 0 strats. You have to die when starting the mission, but the mission only starts once inside the strip club. The runner needs to shoot the door open so they can walk in and keep a weapon out to blow themselves up, all while hoping the guard shooting at them doesn't kill them, and that they get the door to stay open so they can stay in a combat stance and use the RPG. If all of that is successful, by skipping the long wait before the big score, the underground walking section, and the traffic routing minigame, the On Mission 0 runner is sent to checkpoint 5 at the start of the shootout. This saves 2 minutes and 35 seconds, but minus the 24 seconds to set up the wrong warp back in Gauntlets, the On Mission 0 strats save 2 minutes and 11 seconds here. So in total, these 9 missions where the new strat can be used save a total of 22 minutes and 7 seconds. As of the making of this video, the world record for GTA 5 Any% Classic, the main game category, is 5 hours and 42 minutes by Unnamed. He also holds the speedrun record for the same category, but where this On Mission Zero strat is allowed, and that run is 5 hours and 20 minutes, almost exactly matching the time saved by these strats. So thanks to its consistency for making these comparisons look great. The reason the strat is in a different category is partially due to how tough it is to pull off. The difficulty of entering the side mission cannot be understated. Missing the timing by just a bit means spending 20 seconds attempting the strat again. And entering a main mission, messing that up means your game soft locks, and you will be stuck in a loading screen of doom, unable to continue the game until you force close it. However, this is all changing right now. Twisted Tamer has found a new way to enter target practice on Mission 0, where instead of needing a precise timing, as long as you hover over the director mode selection for a few seconds, you can then spam press it as you exit the car, providing a more consistent way of entering on Mission 0. It's still being worked on to be consistent enough to be used in runs, but once adopted, this method also doesn't require preloading the mission, saving 20 seconds in these 6 missions, bringing the total time save up to 24 minutes. And there is likely more to find in the future as the game continues to be broken open by people who have been literally reverse engineering the game to find new strategies or improve old ones. The discovery of the On Mission Zero strat itself was a huge collaborative effort. This strat is available in a similar but different way in GTA San Andreas, so Grand Theft Auto 5 runners were always on the lookout for a way to make it happen. This message by Sprite is what really kicked off the discoveries, with a whole bunch of work done by them, Justice, Gugsy123, with help from anyone who could chime in on the GTA 5 Speedrun Discord. This video was a collaborative effort too. AlexHonix provided the footage for this video and helped a ton in making sure I have all the details right. Plus Twisted Tamer, Unnamed, Relo, Rake, and Hostel have all been helping me out. The legacy of this strategy is just beginning. On Mission 0 can be divisive, as it does skip some cool gameplay and driving sections. On the other hand, most of what On Mission 0 skips is not the most engaging of content. The community has found a nice middle ground in separating the On Mission 0 into its own category, so that most runs are still done by playing the game from start to finish with minimal menuing, but the On Mission 0 category is there for those runners who want to continue bringing GTA 5 speedrun time down more and more.